we're here to talk wrestling, so don't bury the lead. What's our top story from SmackDown from September 27th, 2024?
Tom, we don't ever bury the lead. And the lead is a match. And it's a tag team match with Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu versus Kevin Owens and RKO. Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu go over after, surprise, surprise, a lot of, schmaz here, which Cody Rhodes is involved in, and he kind of blows the victory for Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. You see Kevin Owens get really upset at Cody Rhodes because he blows everything here, and yeah, at least we get a main event with a match, a tag match. We've seen a lot of RKO and Kevin Owens, and we have the Bloodline being victorious. Dom, what'd you think of this tag team main event?
I liked it. It followed on a theme that I saw the whole show, which was teasing tension amongst friends, especially baby faces. It was all SmackDown long. This one, as you said, it involved Cody Rhodes here. This was supposed to be Kevin Owens and Randy Orton versus Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. And for a long time of this maybe 16, 17-minute match here to close the show, we get just a 2-on-2 match. This was really good. And then Tama Tonga and Tongaloa run down to ringside right after a Kevin Owens top turn swanton on Solo Sikoa for a 2 count. Cody Rhodes' music hit. He runs down to battle them on the floor. Kevin Owens had asked Cody Rhodes not to get involved. Randy Orton had said, watch our back. So Cody Rhodes was watching their back like Randy told him. And so now Cody Rhodes battles them on the floor and fights them off pretty well, the 2 Tongas. But eventually, back in the ring, Kevin Owens ducks a spike from Solo, hits a stunner on Solo. But the ref has been knocked down from Jacob Fatu throwing Cody under the bottom rope into the referee's leg. So the ref isn't ready to count the pinfall on Solo. Kevin Owens pops up, sees Cody sprawled on the bottom of the ring there next to the ref, and starts yelling at Cody Rhodes and almost like kicking him out of the ring, and telling the ref to get up. Well, as Kevin Owens turns around, Jacob Fatu circles the ring, jumps in, super kick, Owens down to his knees, super kick again. Solo Sikoa crawls over for the cover. There's the pinfall. And then post-match, Randy Orton has to get between Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes because Kevin Owens is hot. What do you think of all of the intrigue they put into this match? Unless you want to go to spots first. But I think the big story is the intrigue here that they're trying to build between a lot of different pairs of baby faces.
Yeah, this is typical Bloodline stuff, right?
Sure.
Where it's a match, it's in the main event, the match is pretty good, and then a bunch of stuff happens as we are going that kind of builds the story. I'd rather see it like this way than promos that kind of drag on to develop the story.
Sure.
Kind of do it with the wrestling. So I'm not mad at it. And I guess there has to be Cody needs something different, right? Because I feel like he's just beating all the heels, and there's got to be some other storyline going on here. So if it's more people positioning themselves up against Cody, and maybe it even adds a little intrigue that Kevin Owens could take the title from Cody at this point if he turns heel. So like there's different ways it can go, and I mean that's kind of would be a drastically different way, but there's different ways it can go, which is, good storytelling, right?
I'm going to put you on the spot here. You have said before that the WWE, historically as the norm, has trouble maintaining good baby faces near the top.
Yeah.
They have the opposite problem right now. I think they have too many people at the top who get cheered, and they have almost no heels.
Yeah.
Are elevated to the upper echelon. How many times can Solo Sikoa face Cody Rhodes? So they have the opposite problem now. What do you think?
That is an interesting call out. But as I kind of go through in my head, even people that are supposed to be heels sometimes get a little bit cheered, and then the faces are over. So they actually probably do need a little help in like what is like a proper heel department. It's almost like, which is good because they've always had so much trouble. They make the heels so lame that the crowd just boos them. But they have a face. It should be a face so lame that they just boo him. They don't like him. They reject him. And now they have too many faces, which, yeah, I'd agree.
So maybe one of these guys actually turning heel could work out in the WWE's favor. Or if they don't full-fledged turn heel, it does make it interesting as the weeks go on and on watching SmackDown that at least they're not getting too comfortable.
KO's a little better as a heel. Anyway.
Okay. I haven't seen him as we've only been watching almost this is almost the 2-year mark for us. Last Friday of September is when we started this in 2022. It was September 30th. So we're recording tonight on September 28th. This is basically the end of our second year doing this. I haven't seen Kevin Owens as a heel. I haven't seen Randy Orton as a heel.
That's wild.
I haven't seen Cody Rhodes as a heel if he ever was. These guys, to me, they're all I've seen in 2 years is these guys getting cheered and actually playing to the crowd.
Yeah. I feel at this point, the crowd always freaks out for Randy Orton still. He's still way over. So I wouldn't want to turn him, but maybe KO makes a little bit more sense as a heel because you can see he's pretty good at being a jerk. He's done it a lot with like Logan Paul. He's teased some stuff with CM Punk. He really gets the better of A-Town Down Under in the exchanges back and forth, you know.
Yes.
So I think he's a little more natural as a heel. And maybe he could do like a character change. I feel like he's been in that T-shirt with the duct tape and the gym shorts that are too big. Like he's been doing that look for so long. Even the hair with the short hair with like tons of very hard hair gel, you know, like he's got the haircut that he's like always had. So, you know, maybe there's some opportunity for some, let's just say, growth.
Tell us in the chat, tell us in the comments, especially if you're watching live and want to tell us in the chat, jump right in there. If you're watching us on Twitter, if you're watching us on Twitch, or if you're watching us on YouTube, where our main channel is. Subscribe over at YouTube if you can. Chat with us. What do you think? Are there too many baby faces at the top of the card for the amount of heels that WWE has currently developed? And if you think so, do you have any ideas as to who should be the next elevated heel? It could be someone who's turning from babyface, or it could be someone from the low card who you want to see given a push as a heel. But let us know for that. This was an enjoyable match, a pretty good main event. I think we got really good wrestling this whole show.
Yeah.
And not a ton of promo stuff to eat up the time. I will ask you where you want to go next here. I'm about done with the lead here, but I think there's a common thread going through the show is teasing tension within the ranks, especially amongst baby faces. So where would you like to go next?
Yeah, that's the lead, and we're going to move on into the follow. And as we go into the follow, I'll go ahead and pick a match, which has been a pretty fun series here. We have Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade. And I like this match a lot and kind of what they're doing with the best of 7 series.
Yep.
So LA Knight causes Carmelo Hayes to win the match with LA Knight coming down. And, you know, Andrade ends up getting, and so this makes the series, I think, 3-3 now.
Yes.
So predictably, they're going to go 7. I don't think I've ever seen it just be like a sweep, which would be great, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, so they go 3-3. They're going to go to the 7th game series, if you will. And LA Knight comes down and he screws it up for Andrade, which eventually causes Andrade to get really angry at LA Knight,
mhm.
which also kind of opens up the concept of, oh, why would Andrade, a face, want to face LA Knight, a face? It's like, well, there's some animosity between the two of them. But so I think they did a good job, at least with the finish and how they did the storyline stuff there.
Mhm.
You like anything as far as the spots or how the match was laid out?
These two guys are growing on me a little more, I think, as they learn each other and develop a better chemistry. This this is back to the old days where wrestlers would be kind of paired in a storyline for a few months, and they'd travel on the road to every arena doing house shows, and they'd wrestle together every night for a few months. And so by the end of it, when maybe if they were taking a snippet for TV or for the video deluxe box that they were going to put out, by the end of it, these guys knew each other really well and would work well together. I'm seeing that from Carmelo Hayes and Andrade. I think they're getting better as they go on. I still am waiting for Andrade does that moonsault from the top rope. His opponent rolls out of the way, but rolls farther away from him. So Andrade just lands on his feet and then does the standing moonsault. I'm waiting for somebody, and maybe Carmelo Hayes will be the guy to do this since he's seen it so many times, to roll towards the corner.
Right.
Instead of rolling more into the fat part of the ring.
Yeah.
So they did that spot again. Andrade going for a top turn superplex, but Melo countered with a cutter from some sort of cutter move.
I know. I have that in my notes. That was good. That
was
looked
a good
really
one.
good.
And then they were both hurt, so he crawled over to cover him and got a 2.5 count. That was wonderful. You mentioned the interference at the end. This was a long sequence, and they set it up from what happened right before this match. Andrade found LA Knight in the back and went over to him to talk and to say, where I'm from, you shake a man's hand to show respect. Because Andrade had tried to do that the previous week after LA Knight beat him. He tried to shake his hand, and LA Knight, who looked like he got colored the hard way during that match.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Oh, yeah. It was like above his eye.
Mm.
Like around the side of the eye and above the eye. Like you're not going to blade here at the corner of your eye. Like, because that's just, it doesn't look that good if you're just trying to get color. And it's really dangerous. It's like right on your eye. So he looked like he got color the hard way.
Which is the best way to get color.
It's unless you're Kyrie Sane and you do it because you dove on the outside and went head first into the announce table. Thankfully, she was sort of okay and has been at least able to go out there and do something. But yeah, it looks like LA Knight got color the hard way. So at the end of the match, LA Knight was willing to fist bump, but he wouldn't shake his hand. And so Andrade was a little miffed at that. So he found him in the backstage this week and says, where I'm from, we shake a man's hand to show respect. You would not shake my hand. And as LA Knight's going to answer him, he gets ambushed by Carmelo Hayes from behind. Not Andrade. LA Knight gets ambushed. And Melo says, Andrade, concentrate on your match. And the two of them go out for their match. So they've been wrestling for a good almost 15 minutes at this point, where both men collide. Carmelo Hayes rose to the floor. Refs counting him out, and Melo's dazed. LA Knight's music hits, and that kind of wakes up Carmelo Hayes out of his daze. He sees LA Knight stomp into the ring. He rolls back into the ring before the referee hits the 10 count. At that point, LA Knight jumps up on the apron and gestures towards Melo. Andrade gets between them and tries to calm down LA Knight, like, hey, not your match, don't interfere. At which point, Melo shoves Andrade into LA Knight, who falls off the apron. Then Melo rolls up a stunned Andrade for the pinfall. Post-match, LA Knight chases Carmelo Hayes from the ring, and there's heat between Andrade and LA Knight. So they're teasing the two baby faces here, not quite getting along.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. So it makes it a little bit more like, oh, it would be an interesting matchup with Andrade and LA Knight now. It seems
again,
like
because they just did it.
But like, there's at least that opportunity to build a rivalry. And then also, so like, there's some other stuff I wanted to point out. So,
Sure.
uh, we have a fast start to the match. I usually don't like the fast start, but that's just their style. And
Yes.
I think I'm getting a little used to it as well. I like it to be slow, kind of build up to that momentum. But okay, that's kind of the modern stuff I'm going to have to accept at this point. Um, but say what you will, the crowd is doing a "This is awesome" chant.
Yep.
And anytime you hear a "This is awesome" chant, or the crowd's really into it, that means they're tearing it up. I mean, it's really for the live crowd, at the end of the day.
And
We've
that
seen
carries through to the TV audience, right?
yeah, 100%. It makes it gives it that environment. There was the 2020 era of no fan wrestling, and you're just like, this is terrible. This is not good. So it's got to be the interaction with the live crowd,
Yes.
which is really key. There's some little critiques I have for
Okay.
Carmelo.
Go
And,
for it.
I think he's been a pretty good call up. Like, I don't think he's been some people get called up and they're horrible. And I think I don't want to say that he's been horrible. He's been pretty good.
Mhm.
But, it looked like during commercial break, they were kind of chopping each other back and forth, and he like awkwardly missed with a chop in one little sequence. It's not that big of a deal. But they just kind of sat there awkwardly after he missed with the chop, and then he's hit him again. I don't know. It was really an awkward sequence. Not that big of a deal, just a missed spot. I think he needs to sell to the crowd a little bit more because he's supposed to be a heel, and they're building him as a heel, but everything he's doing is like as a face. It's all high flying moves. He's not interacting with the crowd at all, and he's not even really doing stuff necessarily that makes him feel like, oh yeah, this guy's a heel. So either he's mispositioned, or he just needs to lean. He needs to just do. And I think a guy that I've kind of given crap, but he does it really well, is Grayson Waller. Is like, sell a little bit to the crowd, make it them know that you're a bad guy, so you get some boos while Andrade gets some cheers.
Mm-hmm.
So just some real simple. A botch spot, no big deal. Everything else is pretty smooth. But I think just high level, sell to the crowd a little bit. Don't just kind of go in, get your moves in, and then leave. Like, you need to be theatric about it.
Be a heel.
Yeah,
Because
right.
for a while, you could make the same criticism of Andrade. He wasn't really wrestling as a face in the sense that he wasn't playing to the crowd that way. It was just two guys going in there to have a wrestling grudge match.
Mhm.
Andrade is now motioning to the crowd more often, especially before big spots. He puts the arms out and does the hands like this, but his arms are fine. I'm not going to do it because they're going to be out of the ring. You're not going to be able to the screen here. You're not going to be able to see.
Mm.
But Andrade's doing that more often. It could be something as simple like when he does his kip up, he looks to the crowd first before he goes back to stalk his opponent. So Andrade is trying to do more babyface stuff, and Melo has to do more heel stuff.
Yeah, Andrade is clearly doing the cheap heat. Basically, I'm asking for cheap heat. I know we got
Cheap
that coming
heat
up.
from the heels, cheap pops from the baby faces.
Yeah, right. I just need a little bit more from him because he just feels like a face. But those are just like, and I think they're very easily fixed, and I think that they will get fixed. And he's got a lot of the core stuff down already. Just they can't all be Tiffany Stratton coming up out at NXT and being like, strap a rocket. She's really good. There isn't much of a critique. Yeah, Tiffany's ready, but Melo needs a little work.
Little work, but he did. There's potential there, and I like it. Post match, they tease the heat between Andrade and LA Knight because as the two of them are talking, and Andrade's clearly frustrated, LA Knight keeps telling him, "I got no problem with you. I got no problem with you." And LA Knight sticks out the hand like, "All right, you wanted to shake hands. I got no problem with you. My problem is with him." And Andrade looks at his hand and without shaking his hand, just leaves the ring. So now they've kind of each snubbed each other a little bit. So that's the little bit of tension there in the baby face. I'd like to see LA Knight Carmelo Hayes next, but I wouldn't mind seeing LA Knight Andrade again down the road.
Yeah.
I think LA Knight, Carmelo Hayes at this point has to happen.
Yeah, LA Knight, Carmelo Hayes, and they've been kind of bickering back and forth, and that'll be a good opportunity for Carmelo Hayes to show him what he can do as a heel, going for a title for real, going for the U.S. title, and LA Knight easily could be their big champ in the WWE. So even him having the U.S. title, it's like, yeah, he's already a great champ because he should probably be their champ. But
Isn't it strange? There's two babyface title holders for the men on the singles side on SmackDown, and they're both way over. Neither one of them is stale, and I think LA Knight, if he can pull something off here with Carmelo Hayes, because you get "this is awesome" chants when the crowd is sort of enjoying the athleticism of the match, but isn't really totally into either one of the wrestlers. There's probably not going to be a "this is awesome" chant for LA Knight versus Carmelo Hayes, but that's only because people will be cheering for LA Knight.
yeah,
They're going to be going,
yeah.
yeah. They're not going to be going, "this is awesome." They're going to be going, yeah, LA Knight, yeah. They're going to be doing that. So this is Carmelo Hayes' chance to, play off of that.
That's
we saw Santos Escobar do that, right? Escobar, see. We need somebody else to go after LA Knight, almost hit him where it hurts.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't even think about that. But the "this is awesome" chant is just sort of generic for action that they like.
Yep.
Whereas if you have hey, there's like the CM Punk chant that's specific for him. There's like the LA Knight, and even the whole way the crowd just goes with LA Knight, they're over the moon for him.
We want Ricky. Cha, 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 cha. We want Ricky. Cha,
we still
cha,
want him.
Cha, cha.
We want Ricky Gibson. We got to get him on the show. We have to. We have to get him on the show. And
That's
we're like,
actually an old Eric. Not to before you go on to the next thing there. That's actually an old Eric Bischoff criticism that "this is awesome" can be deceptive because sometimes it means that the crowd really isn't invested in either competitor. They're just very short-term entertained by what's in the ring. And that's not always bad, but if you're trying to build a character, you want them to be behind the wrestler and not just doing the generic. So that's not an original thing for me. I've heard other people say that, and it just made sense to me when they said it. And every now and then when I see something like this, I go, I wonder if this is because, like you said, Melo's not totally over as a heel, and Andrade doesn't really play to the crowd as a babyface yet. So the crowd is just like, they appreciate the work, but they're not totally invested in either guy.
Yeah, there's not the specific it's not the specific work that they're putting forward. It's more that they're just kind of into it, and they don't necessarily know the guys or care that much about them, but they're just like, let's start to "this is awesome" chant.
So now back to Ricky. So you were talking about Ricky, who I love, who you made an edited clip about on our Don't Bury the Lead YouTube channel. Go to the YouTube channel, subscribe there. That's where our mother load of content is. Not only the archives of all these live stream, these full recaps we do of SmackDowns and premium live events, but also the edited clips that John puts together and the shorts, the sub 60-second little portions that John also puts together. We have one about Ricky, the Ricky Gibson, who came out from to be Kevin Owens' partner for 5 seconds before Randy Orton came running out, and since his plane just arrived or whatever. So yeah, Ricky Gibson is there. Check out our channel. Check out the cool stuff we have there.
Yeah, and you know what? As far I'd be interested if I do make a short clip. Maybe I'll edit this in now. Eric Bischoff is at times pretty unpopular with some of the stuff he says and some of the stuff he does. So I'd be interested to see if people would give the devil his due, and that's a good point, or they're just like, "Oh, Bischoff, you're the one that he's getting a lot of grief in his later years, especially just as he's become one of the talking heads, and they all just kind of bicker with each other. All the old guys just kind of bicker with each other from afar, from microphones at this point. So he's been one of the guys that's gotten a lot of grief throughout from the internet wrestling community, if you will. So I'd be curious to see in the comments if
Yes.
people agree with the assessment or not. And this is
There you
going to be
go.
to the live chat too.
Absolutely. Very good. That's what I have about that one. This was another great match for television. They gave him a lot of time. Very little talking went into this. It was a lot of match. I enjoyed this. Where do you want to head to next?
Yeah. I'll say, how about Bayley versus Naomi? So Bayley knocks off Naomi in what is a number 1 contender matchup.
Yep.
And Bayley gets the win. I actually didn't know who would win this one, and I thought it was a pretty good matchup here. What'd you think of this match, Dom?
They let him go about 10 minutes, which is a pretty good length for a match. That's usually on the long side of a TV match, although not tonight. This one had plenty of action. It was the first match of the night. Backstage, it involved Nia Jax getting very angry at Tiffany Stratton because she thought Tiffany Stratton cost them the tag team match last week. This number 1 contenders match came about because the stipulation for last week's tag match, as you know, if you saw the show, was that if either Bayley or Naomi got a pinfall, they would be the number 1 contender. Well, it turns out that they double pinned Nia Jax, and so they had to have a number 1 contenders match this week. So they're teasing tension between Nia and Tiffany Stratton, which is rare because you rarely see them tease tension between heels. But they're also teasing Naomi and Bayley having tension. And I see that we have a chat here. Who's the better wrestler, including all accomplishments, AJ Styles or Bryan Danielson? We will get to that in a little bit because they did do an AJ Styles video package during this SmackDown. So we will get there. I promise you that is on our that's on our list here.
That's a great question, though. Thank you. We'll get to it in a minute.
We will ponder it as we go through the matches here because
I'm already thinking
that. Right, you're already pondering it. So Bayley versus Naomi. Bayley does win this one. She hits let's see here. Naomi does a bulldog into the second turnbuckle, goes for a top turn move, but Bayley rolls out of the way. Naomi lands on her feet, turns and walks into a Bayley to belly suplex. Bayley hits the top turn elbow drop for the pinfall. Afterwards, Naomi leaves the ring and looks a little frustrated because Naomi especially wanted Bayley to wrestle her in this match. She didn't want her to go easy on her. Like Bayley at the beginning didn't want to close fist punch Naomi. And Naomi got upset and said, "Come on, wrestle me," and started shoving her. Wrestle me, wrestle me. And so they finally got some animosity between the two of them. And it carried over the rest of the match. And it looked like Naomi was leaving the ring in a huff. But then they met backstage later and they kind of Naomi said, "No, you were supposed to go after me." And they hugged it out and everything. And so it was good. But this is another tease of tension between the baby faces, between the friends. Do you think they built enough tension for the match? And was there anything spot-wise in this match that you wanted to call out?
Only a couple spots, really.
Okay.
Bayley back suplex was really good.
Okay.
She does some slams and suplexes that just look great. And also, I gave pretty cool kip up from her at one point, where she played to the crowd. I do have a minus, and can you guess what it is? A dive to the outside.
Okay.
No, that's my minus, is the dive to the outside.
Well, they had to go to commercial, so.
Yeah. No, but this one's pretty. It was a pretty solid SmackDown matchup, and Bayley wins it. Makes sense, and she'll face Nia Jax again in a rematch.
Yeah, almost like the champion gets the rematch or so. Yeah.
Yeah. So
this is good. So I now they also tease later on that after Naomi and Bayley hugged it out in the back and were cool with each other, they parted ways, and Tiffany Stratton came over to make fun of Naomi. And so now they're teasing a match between Naomi and Tiffany Stratton for next week's SmackDown, the eve of the premium live event. I am forgetting what next Saturday's premium live event is at the
Bad
moment.
Blood.
Bad Blood. There you go. Bad Blood. So the Bad Blood Eve will be a few matches announced, including perhaps this one, Tiffany Stratton versus Naomi, which should be a pretty good match. There's a lot of these women who work well together. This was, I think, the best match I've seen from Naomi, maybe because she's more comfortable with Bayley. She looked a little quicker, a little more into some of the holds, a lot of early covers by Naomi in this match. Either from headlocks or roll throughs or just creative ways. There was a double leg takedown she did at one point into a quick pinning predicament.
Love
so it
that.
Like Naomi wrestled pretty well here.
Yeah, double leg takedown. Love that.
Yep.
And I think let's shift it here to the question from the chat here.
Yeah, because we got a good AJ Styles package here that AJ Styles is supposed to be back next SmackDown. So let's talk about that, because AJ Styles has announced that maybe he's towards the end of his career. So has Bryan Danielson.
This is why it's a great question, Damian. Thanks so much.
It is a great question. I've seen more of AJ Styles, and I'd say AJ Styles just because I've been watching him for so long now. They're guys whose careers have sort of mirrored each other.
Yeah.
Very big in a lot of the maybe AA, AAA level, rather than just WWE and AEW now. AJ Styles was an NWA champ from way back when Impact and TNA were still affiliated with NWA. He was then a TNA champ for a while. He was huge there. Lots of titles in the WWE, became the Grand Slam champion. And he can still go at this age. He had a big run in Japan as well. I'm very impressed with AJ Styles' career.
This is a tough one. These two might be the best. You could really make a serious argument that they're the two best modern wrestlers.
Right?
Period. AJ Styles or Bryan Danielson.
They're in the conversation, right? Because the modern wrestlers, it's going to be Will Ospreay, it's going to be MJF, it's going to be Seth Rollins. Someone might throw Cody Rhodes in there, but AJ Styles and Bryan Danielson for the last 20 years are in the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, you're even talking all time because of their both have such great longevity, which is wild. And both are not huge, but they're definitely really big and fit and athletic, but they're not like tall, big men.
They're the Shawn Michaels build, like the Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels ushered in the era of guys in the on the short side of the 250-pound mark. So like 2 to 220, 230, somewhere in there.
Big dudes, but not freak shows.
Big adult males, but not necessarily big professional wrestlers.
Yeah, which is like,
especially in the Vince McMahon promotion.
Right. Well, yeah, he was all about the big guys.
Yeah.
So I guess, okay, gun to my head, I'm going to just pick Bryan Danielson.
Okay.
Man, it could be either one easily, but maybe I'll say Bryan Danielson because I think he's doing better work right now than AJ Styles is. Only because AJ's kind of chilling. He's on the end of his career, where Bryan Danielson is the big champ at AEW. He's probably been the best wrestler. You could easily say like the last 2 years. You'd say he probably has the best matches of anybody. And so yeah, I'll take Bryan Danielson, but I love AJ Styles too. So I don't know. It's a great question.
So Bryan Danielson was very big in getting over MJF as a champion, right?
They did Damian, maybe you could let us know what you think.
Yes,
that's a great question.
Which one you have?
And you could tell I'm like, I could go back and forth. I need to put a gun to my head to make a decision, but I don't need to put a gun to my head to make a decision for what our next match is that we're going to talk about here, Dom.
There's one more match, isn't there?
There is one.
Michin versus Piper Niven. Chelsea Green comes out with Piper Niven. So they're not only having a match here, but they're also teasing a dumpster match between Chelsea Green, the princess, and Michin, who's more of the hardcore wrestler. So Chelsea Green walks to ringside with a trash can and with gloves on because she doesn't even want to touch the trash can. So there's a little bit of that there for this match. This match goes about 8 minutes or so. Michin winds up getting the win here. Chelsea Green distracts the ref. Piper Niven goes for a cannonball on Michin into the trash can, which has been set up against the barricade on the floor. Michin rolls out of the way. Piper hits just the trash can. Back in the ring, Michin kicks Chelsea Green off the apron, then turns to hit Eat Defeat on Piper Niven re-entering the ring, gets the pinfall. This was a neat little match. Piper Niven, big hoss of a woman, but mobile for her size, wrestles well, has the heel persona down. I like her. And I've always liked Michin. I think Michin is a push away from being a star. She has all the tools.
Oh, totally. And Michin's been really good. And I'm glad to see her getting wins now because she sure has earned it. I mean, she pretty much was getting our Ricochet Memorial Award this year. It was a guarantee. But there looks like they're giving her a little push. And it's interesting you should say that. She does really feel like somebody that could be a cool champ.
Mm-hmm.
And she's made the most of her minutes out there, right? Like she was kind of obscure, and then she'd have to job, but she always was great jobbing, and she looks great winning too. So,
she was the token female in the OC for a while, and I was like, does she even wrestle? And we saw her like come out for a Royal Rumble, but yeah, she didn't do much. And I was like, does she wrestle? And then this year on SmackDown, we've seen her wrestle.
Yeah.
And that's been one of the real pleasant surprises in 2024 on SmackDown for me, is going, Michin's not just like the token female to be the valet for the OC. She can wrestle. I like it.
Yeah. And then Damian, this is kind of like Danielson. It's just a recency bias. That's why I kind of picked him. But there's definitely like AJ Styles with the New Japan stuff, with like Dom mentioned the NWA. He was huge in TNA.
Yep.
When it was actually TNA was pretty relevant. Yep. So
when TNA was drawing more than 1 million fans, 1 to 2 million viewers for their weekly TV program.
Yeah. So,
I like that. Thank you, Damian, for not only the question, but for then giving us your answer after letting us answer, so that you didn't like bias us one way or the other. So
right.
Excellent sportsmanship on your part there, Damian. Enjoyed the contribution. Thank you.
Yeah. And so we're kind of we talked about the matches, and we have a good amount of people piling in here. So just wanted to let you know about our channel. We're going to be here every Saturday night recapping WWE SmackDown. We were doing it on Fridays, but we're switching to Saturday. Go ahead and check out our YouTube channel. If you're watching us on Facebook or Twitch right now, because we are having our motherload of stuff on YouTube. And go ahead and subscribe, because we're very close to 900 subscribers, which is our next goal. So it's cheap. It's $0 for you. It's easy. It helps us out, small creators. But maybe I'll kick it back to you, Dom. Anything else you wanted to talk about with this show?
The opener was basically the three baby faces, Cody Rhodes. Randy Orton out there first calls out Cody Rhodes, asking him why he would team with Roman Reigns. And Cody asks him, would you rather be a fool or a coward? Because Randy said, it seems like a foolish thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty good retort there. And Cody says, I don't have a problem with you. Do you have a problem with me? Why I'm doing it? Because the bloodline is my enemy here, and Roman gave me his word, and he's given me his word before, and he kept it. And Randy says, no problem at all, unless you make it a problem. And that's when Kevin Owens comes stomping to the ring. He gets into the ring. Before he can say anything, though, the Bloodline's music hits. And Solo Sikoa is just running down all the three baby faces. And I really want to call this out for two reasons. Number one, they tease the tension between KO and Cody again here, because Cody tries to make a 6-man tag match for tonight. And Kevin Owens says, no. You're getting your shot with Roman Reigns at them. Tonight, it's just me and Randy versus Solo and Jacob Fatu. And Cody kind of go, like looks at him like, okay, like I wanted to be part of the cool kids table, you know.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that they tease a little tension there that they carry through the show. I also want to give props to Solo. He is so ready for the role he's in now. It's barely been more than 2 years since he's been on the main roster. It was August of 2022. And he's been just awesome. As he's running down the baby faces in the ring and they're trying to belittle him, he's back on the mic. He gets a very faint what chant.
Oh.
It only needs one. He looks and says, "Shut your mouth, Oklahoma." That was the end of the what chant.
Perfect. Shut it right down, right?
He didn't even wait for him to keep going. It was one. He glares at them side to side. "Shut your mouth, Oklahoma." And that was it, because now it's just like, you know, going after him. Now he's got heel heat.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's so much easier to handle it as a heel, but a lot of times they just ignore it. There was that time that Charlotte Flair gave the really.
Yeah.
She was just so upset with the crowd, and she just gave out. She kind of broke character.
Yeah.
So, what do you? I got the what chance? Because she's trying to make it very serious. But yeah. So I totally agree. Solo's the man, and there is something about him on the mic. Like he's got an intensity to him, like an intensity where you're like, it's getting to the point. I mean, it's always good to have this, but he seems like a bad dude, right?
Yeah, he does. And for as young in his career as he is the best of this family, this long line of wrestlers from the Anawai Maivia wrestling tree that gets a lot of press. I think he's, like year for year, I think he's the best that family's ever turned out. I think he's ahead of where The Rock was.
Whoa.
Like the Rock benefited from, he eventually got the Stone Cold Steve Austin rub, and he eventually got the Vince McMahon rub.
Yeah.
And he got rubbed from a lot of people, and then, he eventually got Hulk Hogan rub, Hollywood Hogan rub when the NWO came over after the buyout of WCW, and then went to be a movie star. I think just pure what we're seeing from as a wrestler, I think he's far ahead of Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
I think he's even ahead of The Rock. He's ahead of Rikishi. He's ahead of his older brothers who were tag teaming for a long time. I think Solo Sikoa is ahead of where anybody else was in his family as a complete modern professional wrestler who has to get it done in the ring and get it done on the mic.
That's a boiling hot take, Dom. Boiling hot. And I think you're right. Especially with Roman, because it took him a while to get there.
Took him a while.
A really long time. I mean, he got pushed he was getting booed. He won the Royal Rumble as a face and was getting booed, and the Philadelphia crowd was ruthless. They were chanting like, "We want refunds. We want refunds." That's insane.
Oh my goodness.
We want That was like resonating. I'd love to see original footage of that, because I'm sure that, and this is especially the Vince era, but I'm sure they scrubbed that right out and they edited that as much as possible. So if you go to the WWE network, you're not going to hear the vitriol of the crowd. And then that was so great, because when Roman Reigns, eventually, like when he was about to win, Rusev was outside of the ring, and then they were like, and he like rolled back in. And then the crowd was like, Rusev. So, and Rusev at the time was a Russian heel.
Yeah.
Like USSR style heel. And like the crowd was like, yeah, go USSR guy,
Okay. Like a Nikolai Volkov character.
Yeah, we're like, go. Like, oh, he's going to win it. And then they lose, and then the babyface wins, and the crowd is booing like crazy. Oh. And then The Rock comes down. And when The Rock comes down after the Royal Rumble to be like, oh, it's him. He's the champ.
To give Roman Reigns the rub.
The crowd is booing The Rock.
I saw footage of that. The Rock was not pleased.
Because they were like, he does the eyebrow because he's like, come on, it's The Rock. I'm never here. And, you should be freaking out and cheering.
Come on, guys. You're supposed to cheer for me.
the crowd just turned and they were not happy, and they eventually cleaned it up because they had Seth Rollins win the title by cashing in the Money in the Bank. So they didn't push him. They kind of knew. They're like, yeah, he can't be the champ yet.
Not quite yet.
Yeah.
But very good. So that's what I got. I don't think there was anything else to say there. They did tease AJ Styles returning at next week's SmackDown, which I wonder how much he's got left and what kind of program they'll get him into. He's a ready-made contender either for, I mean, maybe not Cody Rhodes, since that's fresh in people's minds that he had the feud with Cody shortly after Cody winning, but maybe he's a ready-made feud for LA Knight. And if they're going to have AJ Styles have one more title run, maybe it's not the big belt. Maybe it is the U.S. title. I'd be interested to see if AJ Styles comes back as the heel that he was when he left, or if he's going to come back and he's going to get just a baby face like, oh, it's been a while. We're so glad to see you back. You know, that almost all returning veterans get. Mm-hmm. And if they're going to let him be a baby face, if he gets that kind of cheer, or if they're going to force him one direction or the other, even against the initial reaction of the crowd. So lots to look forward to there with AJ Styles. Big weekend coming up.
Yeah, no, that's great. And, you know, even though I said he wasn't the greatest wrestler, it wasn't better than Bryan Danielson. He's fantastic. So that should be good to have him coming. One more thing before we go into the thumb drive, I wanted to ask you, are you looking forward to this like dumpster thing with is it Michin
and Chelsea Green?
Yeah.
I look forward to anything that Chelsea Green is involved in, because they don't seem to overdo it with her. Mm-hmm. And by that, I don't mean like that. They don't put her in 20-minute matches. Mm-hmm. You know, they put her in. She's one of those who gets the most out of her minutes on the screen, mm-hmm. and they limit her minutes on the screen to just what she's there for. I look forward to everything with Chelsea Green. The fact that Michin's involved. Yeah, I mean, do I want to see dumpster matches as the norm? But like Chelsea Green in a dumpster match, I'll watch it. Because I also know they're not going to drag it out to be like this 15-minute, you know, like 5-star classic. No, it's going to be a dumpster match.
It's actually kind of perfect for Chelsea Green. And I think she's the one person on the roster that can pull it off. And like, you don't want to see the blow off between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre be a dumpster match. But yeah, this is yeah, I actually am kind of looking forward to it, and I think it's a good point because it's Chelsea Green. But
everything, like Chelsea Green was not involved too much in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match that Tiffany Stratton wound up winning. But when Chelsea was involved, she was the center of attention. She is a magnet. She's a heat magnet and a pop magnet from the live crowd.
Absolutely. And I know we're talking a lot about garbage here, folks. So we want to decide, you know, was this SmackDown garbage or not? You know?
What a segue!
Because we're talking garbage, was it garbage or not? But really, what we call this segment is the thumb drive.
It's the thumb drive, not the dumpster dive. But we are going to reduce this entire show into a simple thumbs up or a thumbs down. There are no ties. There are also no number grades, no letter grades, no star ratings. You are taking this course. Pass, fail.
Dom, we're not Dave Meltzer. We don't do 7 stars in the Tokyo Dome. We don't do 2 stars at the Core State Spectrum. No. We don't do star ratings. We just do a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Was the show good or was the show bad? So let's go ahead and do it, Dom. You ready?
I am ready, my friend.
3, 2, 1. Oh, 2 thumbs up for this SmackDown. Dom, why'd you give it a thumbs up?
4 matches, all of which were good. At least 3 of them. The main event with Kevin Owens and Randy Orton versus Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. The second match of the night between Andrade and Carmelo Hayes. And the opener between Bayley and Naomi The first two I mentioned definitely could have been match of the night for most SmackDowns. Even the Bayley Naomi match could have been match of the night for some of the SmackDowns we've seen. And we got all three of them on the same SmackDown. And even a match that was a good TV match like Michin and Piper Niven, like that becomes the also ran based on the list we got tonight. I think we got a really good show. This is really the go home show for Bad Blood because they're not going to do too much with the main stars the night before Bad Blood. So the SmackDown 8 days prior becomes the go home show. This was a great go home show for a premium live event.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, from my perspective, very good go home show. Usually they're kind of boring because they like have everything wrapped up and they don't do anything. They just do stuff to reinforce it. But you can see there's other like rivalries are kind of intertwining. And so I'm not necessarily a big storyline guy all the time, but it's good enough as far as the storyline's concerned. But the wrestling was good. Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade has been interesting. You at least watch that, and those are pretty good matchups. Bayley versus Naomi. I'm happy with the way Naomi's progressed from when she was in WWE before to kind of where she's at now. And Bayley is always good. Just some good matches here. And yeah, pretty easy thumbs up for me.